Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. As usual, social media has been riddled with good, bad, and of course, ugly responses to the NBA protests that took place this week. Bears Hall of Fame linebacker Brian Urlacher waded into the discussion with a post of his own, and it did not sit well with many. This comes directly from his Instagram account. Quote, Brett Favre played the Monday Night Football game the day his dad died. Threw for 4 touchdowns in the first half and was a legend for playing in the face of adversity. NBA players boycott the playoffs because a dude reaching for a knife wanted on a felony sexual assault warrant was shot by police? Oh, ignorant. Joined by LeVar Arrington. But
where you're going.
I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
What's your reaction to Urlacher's post, my friend?
Man, this thing right here, well, this one was perplexing to me because if you see how this all is layered, it's an interesting one. Urlacher, one, you suggested a terrible opinion and sent it at the worst moment, even though everything he said was actually factually correct, which makes you say, whoa, what is this? What kind of stew is he right now brewing up? Because he went, and I've seen this before, working in media, working with individuals, that they stand on proper ground to suggest something that is really a thumb in the eye, and then they throw the rocks, hide their hands, because this is not even his original post. This is like retweets and reposting, and then sit there and say, y'all deal with the agitation. It's an amazing thing because Brian Urlacher has to know this. He's media savvy enough. I know Brian a little bit. We've certainly played against each other and talked to many a times. You got to know that in this world, we talk about the act, not the actor. So if you talk about Brett Favre, you're talking about the act of the bravery or the courage of him to respond in that moment. But when you talked about Jacob Blake, you talked about the actor. And you started to undress him and his issues and indiscretion. So that's why it didn't sit well with me, and I'm sure many, many others out there.
You know, what I found to be interesting, the first thing I thought was a 17-year-old kid that is allowed to just walk away with his AR rifle in his arm, and after the fact is then apprehended and incarcerated. Where was the tweet, Brian? Where was the IG post, Brian? What is your idea? What is your thought process on what his actions were? And if that was justifiable in any way, shape, or form. So I just kind of came to the conclusion that I'm not going to be out here defending dudes. This Urlacher is my draft class. I know Urlacher. I don't know him super well, but we came up together. And I just came to the conclusion, like, I'm not going to go on national television trying to defend this dude. That was the first conclusion. That was my first reaction when I saw, what happened. Then I gave you my second reaction on, well, if you can justify shooting a man in his back, which how many cops were there? How many police officers were present? Like 4 at least, I think, were there. And some they had their guns drawn. If you're sitting there and you really want to put out there the information of saying that this person was going for a knife in a gunfight with his back turned, I just think it comes across as a very disingenuous way to try to make a point. But understanding this, and this is a very critical thing to a piece of information to understand, that's his truth. That is his perspective, and he put it out there. So my dad always told me, when somebody tells you and shows you who they are,
believe them.
Believe them. Believe who they are and move from there. So I don't ever want to be in no situation, God forbid, if I find myself at an event for the NFL or something and me and B-Lac are there, I don't not want to be as, cool with them if we're out. But I for dang sure ain't trying to take the Uber with you or ride, I'm not rolling with you because now it's fouled away. So for all them years, you were the captain, you were B-Lac, you're the middle linebacker, the new monsters of the Midway, and your supporting cast pretty much was all the dude that turned his back around and was going for a knife and got shot in the back 7 times. They're the reason why you're in the National Football Hall of Fame. But yet you feel this way on the inside, I'm cool on you. We good. You're allowed to feel what you want to feel. but that's now filed away in my mental Rolodex. Like, you know, we ain't on no hug up, dap up type of situation at this point.
Yeah, my first thoughts on my first lap are this. See, this is actually why I appreciate awareness of social injustice, why I appreciate protests. I know, Marcellus, you said something in response to Bruce Arians yesterday, and B.A. was saying he doesn't necessarily think protests accomplish much. Actively, they may not, but passively, they actually do a lot. You know, when you live in an area that may not be, regardless of where you live, if it's nighttime, you turn on a light, it's going to expose some roaches. See, all of a sudden, you turn on them lights and them roaches going to start scrambling around. Why? Because when it was dark, you couldn't see because they weren't exposed. But under the light, some things got exposed. What am I saying? What I'm saying is when issues like this, when injustice is brought to the forefront and people have to express their real opinions, it exposes things. And I'm not here to cancel. That's not what I believe in. But you can't fix a problem that you don't know exists. So to LeVar's point, if Brian Urlacher genuinely feels like this, he doesn't yet understand the true nature of what's going on. This has nothing to do with Brett Favre playing a game after his father died versus whatever Urlacher's talking about. What I've realized is people still need to be exposed to the real issues so that now that you understand the real issues, you can fix it. So if protests, if taking a knee, if wearing Black Lives Matter shirts, if it does nothing else, Marcellus, it gets people talking. And now that people are talking, we get to hear people's opinions. And like LeVar said, we can either help educate them based on what might be an ignorant opinion, or we can file them away in the cabinet we need to file them away in and proceed with our lives.
Interesting. Let's go biblical. Sonny Son is up here. My man Acho right here. And to your point, roaches in the daylight are the worst. You know, what the hell is a roach doing in the daylight? I remember one time I was having breakfast and one ran across the cereal. I was like, yo, not in the daytime.
You got to pour the whole bowl away.
Oh, man. In the morning? Like, y'all violating. Okay, here's the thing. As you are a bishop's son, you understand, ye judge, ye shall be judged. Urlacher gave us this lens that now is going to be critical in terms of looking at him through a different exposure. We're going to be looking at him a little differently because of the lens he looked at this situation through. And how did he look at this situation? Let's just break it down simply. Because this is not a gotcha moment. Like, oh, we got you, Urlacher, lights on you as much. Because Urlacher ain't tripping. Urlacher revealed who he was, and he did it comfortably. He did it on his Instagram. He did it comfortably. He has followers, y'all. So don't act like y'all ran and kicked down the door and found out Urlacher was in there. Urlacher's like, hey, I'm in here. What's up? Who's out there? There's a false equivalence that he tried to draw, and I caught it. When he's talking about Brett Favre, he basically sums it up by making us have the impression of strength. Strength, courage, strength. Like, oh, that's a strong man right there. But then when he goes to the second tweet talking about Jacob Blake, he's basically telling y'all players, y'all weak. Because y'all going out there and boycotting and hurt by a criminal. And if you notice that difference, that's the exposure. That's the lens in which now, once you catch that he deviated from his initial point, or at least in his repost, that now, ye judge, ye shall be judged. So now you go and go look at Brian Urlacher going forward, as LeVar said, in a more critical eye. Me personally, I ain't fazed by what he posted because I know who I am. And now, thankfully, I know who Brian Urlacher is.
That's a fact.
So when I see you, I got that for you. I don't live in this world that's binary and once you do that, you off. Because that's cancel culture in your own world.
Sure.
I'm not going to have cancel culture for this dude. I just know that Urlacher going to go to certain lengths and go to certain directions that maybe Marcellus Wiley won't go.
I said on the show yesterday, if the blade cools off, all you can do is try to continue to sharpen it. That is the only thing that you can do to still once it cools down from being molded from that heat. This is a simple situation where he's a blade. He's not being wielded right now. He is a finished product blade. So for me, the most disturbing part of this, the reason why I don't look at it as cancel culture, how I feel about it, what I look at is it bothered me because I believe he's a husband and a father. I do. If my memory serves me correctly.
He got divorced, but yeah.
Well, hey.
Look at me.
Hey.
I know his
so
baby.
Here,
you got a baby.
But what bothers me is that man whether a criminal, you funny, Marcellus, that man, whether a criminal or not, in that moment was in the presence of babies, of young people, and a mother. And for you to have no type of awareness of what, maybe you have a point about Blake himself, but do you think that it is okay to actually repost something that would suggest that because this man has a charge, which hasn't been convicted of, if that's the case,